All right, I think we're gonna get started. Welcome. Morgan and I are so excited that you guys are here. I think it's gonna be a peaceful but wonderful night. We're gonna start off with some introductions. Morgan and I will introduce ourselves, but you are here to learn about college kindness to others and oneself. And again, it's gonna be a peaceful, wonderful night. My name is Lorrigan. I am a peer mentor with Professor Bridget Lowry, and our cohort talks about kindness. So we're right on point right here with kindness. But I am a senior communication major. So I love being a peer mentor because I get to put myself in your shoes again. It was 3 years ago, but I absolutely love being a peer mentor, and I'm so excited that you're here.
And my name is Morgan, and I'm very excited to be here today. I'm a peer mentor for Dr. Bellinger's GPS class, and we've been focusing our efforts during this year of weird on building utopia and ultimately how we can use utopian philosophies to help shape a hopeful tomorrow. And I think learning, teaching, and practicing kindness to each other and to ourselves is a fantastic place to start.
Yes. I think being kind to ourselves is often really difficult, but that's why we're going to talk about it. At least for myself, I find being kind to others sometimes a little bit easier, but we're going to talk about both tonight. So let's get started. First of all, I'm going to ask you 2 questions. And the first one, I want you to head to the chat, which is on the bottom of your screen, and type in what empathy means to you. This might be how it makes you feel. Maybe it's something you've learned about empathy or some adjectives about empathy. And you might not know anything about empathy right now, and that's perfectly okay. But anything about empathy and what it means to you. These are wonderful. Feelings I have for others, good and bad, yes. Compassion, understanding the feelings of others. I love that. Caring for others, understanding others from their perspective, not just yours, yes. Thinking from someone else's point of view, understanding the struggles of others. Oh my gosh, you guys should be leading this. This is perfect. Yeah, empathy is all of these things. Incredible. That's just amazing. I love that you guys have an understanding of this. So now I want you to again head to the chat and type in something about what empathy could mean to someone on the receiving end. So if you're empathetic towards someone else, what could that mean to them? How would that make them feel? What could that change for them? Yeah.
Yeah.
Make you feel like you're not alone. And that's huge, especially when we're all virtual. Yeah, acceptance. You haven't gone through something by yourself. Yeah. Make you feel better, knowing that other people know what you're going through. Sometimes when we're going through something, it just feels like you're alone. You feel like no one else in the entire world has ever gone through what you're going through. And a simple sentence of, I know what you're feeling, makes us feel so warm inside because we feel loved and appreciated. Yeah. Beautiful. One thing about empathy that's often confusing, although you guys seem to have a pretty good handle on it, is empathy versus sympathy. They're often confused and they're easy to confuse. So Morgan and I found a short video that is voiced over by Brene Brown, who is an amazing professor and author and speaker. He talks about, well-being and courage and strength, all amazing things. But she does a really great job at explaining the difference between empathy and sympathy. So let's take a look at this short video. Hmm. I tested this. We love technology. Please be empathetic. Let's see. Hmm. Hmm. I'll do this real quick.
Still a little muffled.
My goodness. Okay, well, we're just going to go with the flow. And I will summarize that video. And we are going to post a link in the chat so you have access to this after the fact of the presentation. So if you want to go back and watch the video, I highly recommend it. But what Brene Brown really gets at is that empathy is feeling with people. It's not feeling for people, it's feeling with people. So in order to do that, you have to get into someone else's shoes. We often hear that saying, right? But see their perspective. When sympathy happens, we go, oh yeah, okay, yep, she's struggling. She's on the struggle bus right now. But when you're empathetic, you go, I've been on that struggle bus. I see you. And you don't have judgment when you do that. It's all about compassion. So you recognize the emotion someone else is going through, and you communicate that recognition. You say, I know how you're feeling. And you mean that. You've been there. So telling someone that you know how they're feeling makes them feel like they're not alone. And you guys pointed that out. It's an incredible feeling. And that's empathy and the power of empathy. So now we're going to get into how you can be empathetic. How can you be empathetic, especially in a digital era? This is so challenging because we don't have that face-to-face interaction. It's harder to connect with people. So how can you be an empathetic student with professors and peers? We often forget to be empathetic with professors. It's easy to get frustrated with them. They're constantly giving you so much work. It's hard, but they're human beings. And we can actually find common ground with them pretty easily. It's easy to say, oh, our professor's sick. Yeah, I've been there. I understand that it must be hard to teach a class right now. It's hard for me to go to class when I'm sick, even when it's virtual. Or, oh, my professor, is taking a while to grade my paper. And then they say that, their son or daughter is going through a hard time right now. Okay, well, okay. I've had a family member go through a hard time right now, and yeah, and I've given them my attention, right? You've been there. So find that common ground and remember that you're human beings first. Your professor is a human being before they're a professor, and you are a human being before you're a student. And for your peers, I want you to engage in active listening. This is huge in the comm department. But active listening is when you give someone your full attention, verbal and nonverbal. So you're going to give them eye contact. You're going to nod your head. Like, yeah, I know what you're saying. I got you. And then you're going to paraphrase what that person just said to you to make sure that you understand what they just said. Say, I'm understanding that you feel this way. Am I correct? That simple sentence of asking if you understood them correct makes them feel heard. And that's huge. With your peers and your active listening, you also have to engage like you do in class, engaging with your professors, but let people know that you feel what they're going through. It takes bravery to speak up in class. Let them know, okay, I love what you just said. I can understand where you're coming from. That little bit of engagement goes a long way. Now let's take empathy into a more broad approach as, how can you be empathetic as a young adult? It's very similar to being an empathetic student in that you find shared experiences. And that's pretty easy because we're all going through the same thing right now. Of course, we have our own individual challenges, but we connect on a lot. So shared experiences drive empathy. And I want you to be able to have respectful discussions. I want you to remember that it's your connection to someone else's story, right? It's your connection, but their story. This involves balancing listening and speaking. I want you to be an active listener and then speak your connection, your recognition of their emotion, but let the person tell their story. And when it comes to opinions, say someone says something that you disagree with, that's okay. We love different opinions. That's beautiful. It results in amazing conversations. But understand that you can understand someone else's perspective without agreeing with them. And you can voice your opinion respectfully. Just say, I understand your perspective, but I feel this way, and that's okay. I love that we can connect, but still have different opinions. Empathy is a beautiful thing to understand and practice. And what I want you to take away from this first half is that empathy is a choice. It's a choice to connect with something within yourself in order to connect with others. Again, it's a choice. As human beings, we're born somewhat empathetic. When we see someone else get hurt, we can kind of feel that pain. But when it comes to being empathetic with emotions, it's a choice. And it takes vulnerability to dig inside yourself and say, okay, yeah, I've been there. It was really tough. And then communicate that. But I believe every single person here can be empathetic and make that choice. But I also want to point out, as we start to transition to Morgan and self-care, that balancing empathy and self-care can be challenging. Oftentimes when we're empathetic, we take on the burdens of the people we're being empathetic towards. If someone's having a really hard day and we're being empathetic, sometimes it feels like we're having a really hard day. So we have to take care of ourselves in order to be empathetic to people. Kind of like when you're on an airplane and they say, put your oxygen mask on first before helping others. Same way here. We have to take care of ourselves in order to be kind to others. So now we're going to head into self-care with Morgan.
Yes, thank you, Lorrigan. Echoing some of what you were saying, being kind towards your others is much easier when we're also kind to ourselves. So there's always this struggle for balance between the two. I want to help make that struggle easier by giving you some self-care tools. I invite you to use the following slides as prompts of introspection to gain some self-awareness about where you're at right now. So you can grab your journal and a pen, or you can use the chat, but a lot of my section is it's doing the work, So we'll begin by talking about knowing yourself. This ultimately is to make your life better. Something you can try is to find your non-negotiables. These are things that you require to do your best. Think of them as a contract with yourself, promising to honor your needs to succeed. So ask yourself, what practices help you do your best? You can put them in the chat, or you can just write them down privately. But I'll give you a minute to think about this. What practices help you do your best? Ooh, meditation, drinking water, exercising, going to bed early. Ooh, Heather. Waking up at the same time every day, filling out your planner, self-reflection. That's a lot of this today is self-reflection. Journaling, naps and breaks. Wonderful. This is amazing stuff. For me, I need to have my desk tidy, and I need to get at least 7 hours of sleep. I need to drink enough water, stay active, and take a shower. But remember, everything that you guys posted, willpower and self-care go hand in hand. That's kind of why I put this in bold, because even like getting to bed early and waking up at the same time every day, that requires, time management, willpower. These are all really, really important things. There are nights I want to stay up and watch one more episode instead of heading to bed. And or mornings that I just want to hit the snooze button, and days that I don't feel like taking a shower or working out. But I know that giving into these impulses is ultimately going to hurt me, And I certainly don't get it right every time. They're called non-negotiables, but it's that's just kind of something to get you to make that contract with yourself. But that's just how I learned that letting my non-negotiables slide is ultimately harmful to my success. And Lorrigan and I have used weekly and sometimes daily self-assessments to help us know ourselves better, and have found it to be incredibly helpful to our self-awareness. So that's kind of why I got excited when someone in the chat said self-reflection, because it is so key for self-care. So let's try it together. We're going right back into another one. Take a minute to think of the following prompts. What were the highs of your week so far? How did you play a part in making these happen? And you can put them in the chat, or you can have them privately. Just these little victories are so important to recognize. And once you have reaped the benefits of your actions, you know what to repeat again in the future. Oh, Yes. Getting outside, talking to somebody, reading. Oh, you got a really good score on your psychology test, learning new things. These are awesome, awesome things. And it's great because you're simultaneously practicing gratitude. Seeing friends, oh, yes, especially now more than ever. Seeing friends is something that we'll never take for granted again. Oh, going for a drive and listening to your favorite music, that's wonderful. For me, this Tuesday, I took my first nap of the semester. And afterwards, I felt so good that I went for a walk. And it's just like I took that 1 hour for myself and I felt so good. And I knew that those were two things that would make me feel better. And if we just do one or two things a day that make us feel better, I mean, it kind of fuels you to be able to do all this other stuff we got to do. So the next prompt is what were the lows of your week? Not as fun to think about, but they're just as important. Because then you get the chance to ask yourself, what did I learn from these lows? What will I try to do differently next time? Ask these things to yourself and feel free to share some of your lows because we all got them. And by sharing them, it kind of helps us feel less alone. I know for me, I felt like time was just slipping away this week. And I got a little overwhelmed about it. But I know that that was just a way of telling me that I need to kind of tighten that time management up a little bit. Okay, that these are definitely, like good things to recognize. Napping too much, that's like there's just always this balance. Um, but the two questions after it are really key. After you've recognized your lows, what did you learn from it? The feeling that you felt afterwards, the benefits that you didn't reap from those actions, and then what you can do differently next time. Awesome. I'm glad. I hope that this is a really great introspective exercise that you'll use again in the future. This exercise can be a wonderful way to find out what practices are worth repeating and which ones are best avoided. So we want to make decisions and actions that help us so we can help others. But we also want to have thoughts that help us too. So I wanted to talk about negative self-talk because this can hold us back a lot. So let's talk about some of the common forms of negative self-talk. There's filtering. And this is when you get a grade back and find that you received an 8 out of 10. And instead of celebrating those 8 questions that you got right, you fixate on those 2 questions that you got wrong. I'm sure we've all done this. And then there's personalizing, which is when something bad happens and you automatically blame yourself. I know a lot of, especially I'm like a sorry person. I like to say sorry a lot. And I think that this is a personalizing trait. And then there's catastrophizing, which is when something happens like a particularly awkward interaction with a peer and you anticipate the worst, like that person is gonna hate you or think you're a weird person forever. And then lastly, there's polarizing. And this is when anything short of perfection is a complete failure. So I don't know about you guys, but I've done a few of these more than once and they've never helped me, not once. But positive thinking is something that can be practiced if you're self-aware enough to of your negative thoughts, and this can be done by flipping them. So for example, and I have my examples in this little chart here. You have what feels like a mountain of chapters to read, lectures to watch, discussions to post, and quizzes to take. And you just think, oh, I'm not strong enough to do this. Flip that thought and remind yourself, I have a history of being a strong student and I deserve to be here. Like, be firm with yourself, you know? And then, or perhaps you have, you get a bad grade back and you think, my professor probably thinks I'm stupid. Flip that thought and remind yourself, hey, I'm trying my best and I need to communicate with my professor if I'm struggling with anything. So, like, notice that these thoughts that you're having, they're not you. You can have them, recognize them for what they are, and then flip them for what you want them to be. Another example is that you maybe decided to answer a question during a lecture, and it wasn't exactly what the professor was looking for, and you think, oh my gosh, what I said totally sucked. And you're nervous and you're red in the face. Flip that and remind yourself, hey, I participated. This is like a golden thing to professors. They just want you to participate. And I bet that some other students in the class were thinking the same thing. And maybe, just maybe, it even helped the professor teach to the rest of the class what the answer isn't. So never think what you said sucked. Never think that you're stupid. Just remind yourself that you're doing your best. You can ask for help. You participated, and that we're all going through this together. So let's have a personal moment of self-assessment where we think about the words we tell ourselves. You don't have to share this stuff. This just can be a conversation you have with yourself, but just be real with yourself for a sec, okay? And just ask yourself, what situations prompt negative self-talk for you? Are there any patterns that you've noticed, things that happen that you automatically maybe tend to filter in, tend to personalize in, tend to catastrophize in? And then once you've kind of maybe thought a little bit more about that, ask yourself, what is the content of your negative self-talk? What are those things that you commonly tell yourself? And what have been the consequences of using negative self-talk? Yep, Heather also apologizes for things, even when they're not her fault. I do this all the time. Expecting the worst things to happen. Oh, see, these are great things to recognize in yourselves. But ask yourselves, now that you've recognized, ask yourselves how you can flip them. Because you know that's not true. You're not stupid. You're not an idiot. And many of these negative thoughts, they stem from a lack of self-efficacy. What is self-efficacy? Have you heard that before? Self-efficacy is a belief that we have in our abilities and competencies. It's a strong sense of trust one has for themselves and in their capabilities. Along with our thoughts, this affects our emotions, our actions, and our motivations. Someone with low self-efficacy avoids accepting challenges as they fear failure, focuses more on their weaknesses and less on their strengths, has a hard time recovering from setbacks and underachievements, and lacks a sense of commitment to their work. This can hurt your college experience and your future career. So let's focus on ways to strengthen self-efficacy. One way is you can set simple goals and approach them one by one. You can even break your goals into sub-goals and work on achieving them one at a time. A great way to do this for you GPS students is to look at your semester at a glance. The goal is to finish each assignment for the week, and you have each class's assignments as sub-goals. Every time you complete a sub-goal, celebrate your victory. Build that trust in yourself. After an entire semester of completing your weekly goals, you've proven to yourself that you can do this. But even if you didn't hand in every assignment for the semester, or you got a few bad grades for some of your assignments, accepting failure and criticism positively can also build self-efficacy. By not perceiving them as a personal shortcoming, but rather as opportunities for growth, you adopt this mindset about failure that allows you to try new things and embrace things that challenge you, which also builds self-efficacy. So, our final assessment is to get you building self-efficacy right away. Are you guys ready? This is a big deal right here. This is the biggest one. So right now, I think paper would be good, but feel free to share in the chat. Write down 3 goals or sub-goals you accomplished in the past week that went well. What goals did you crush this week? It's Thursday. It's towards the end of the week. You still got one more day to crush goals, but what have you accomplished so far? How did accomplishing those goals make you feel? Write it down. Did you feel happy? Did you feel proud? Yes. Amaya completed all of her assignments on time. That's huge. That's a big deal. That's hard. Ooh. Emma finished a 5-page paper for her media class. Yeah, I imagine you feel relieved. But it's almost like the feeling of relief after you're done with a workout, right? Because you're getting stronger. Oh, Sydney, moving is so stressful. You did it. Finishing tests, meeting with professors, mapping out your calendar. These are wonderful. Thank you for sharing. Did they make you feel good? Did you feel proud? Good. Awesome. Okay, so next, what are 3 achievements you'd like to accomplish in the next week? These ones are important. Write them in bold. 3 3 achievements you'd like to accomplish. I'd love to hear some of your goals. They say that you're not supposed to tell people about your plans and goals, but you can tell me. I'll keep it. I won't tell anybody. Oh, yes. Have some of that time management so you can enjoy the weekend. Crush your anatomy exam. Wonderful. Yeah, these don't have to be big goals. Like cleaning your room is a huge thing, but even though it may seem small. Now, do you all trust yourselves? Everybody turn on the mic and say yes.
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 Yeah.
Awesome.
Yes.
Yes.
So.
Yes.
All right. Awesome. The more we empower ourselves, the more we empower others. Bottom line.